Max Verstappen and the Red Bull team clinched the Drivers' Championship after a fierce battle against Lando Norris and McLaren. But the four-time world champion has some strong opinions about the technical edge McLaren appeared to gain throughout the season. According to him, certain aspects of their car were possibly pushing the boundaries of the FIA's rulebook, though the governing body deemed everything legal. Still, there were moments during the season where the actions taken by McLaren raised doubts. Were these moves in line with the spirit of fair competition, or were they designed to stir controversy? It's clear that 2024 has been one of the most intense seasons in recent memory, but the real question is, what will the 2025 season hold for the sport? And more importantly, will McLaren continue to exploit any potential loopholes that may be out there? It's fair to say that both Red Bull and McLaren have offered fans an exciting show this year. Yet many believe that there was even more potential left untapped, particularly by Norris. He could have pushed harder, making the title race even more thrilling. But according to Verstappen's comments, several technical issues in McLaren's car raised eyebrows. Throughout much of the season, the car's legality came into question, though Verstappen didn't explicitly point the finger at McLaren. Nevertheless, it wasn't hard to figure out which team he was referring to. In fact, Verstappen mentioned that there were times when the team simply had no chance due to certain behind-the-scenes developments that made it clear they were at a disadvantage. Of course, no one in the industry would ever admit to these actions publicly, but Verstappen's perspective gives fans a glimpse into the potential unseen battles taking place. When the dust settled at the end of the season, no one expected a team principal to publicly admit that their car contained illegal parts. That's just not how things work in Formula One. The reality is, teams push the limits of the rulebook as far as they can, and if the FIA doesn't catch them, well, that's on the governing body. But when it comes to McLaren, the FIA only took action once the rear wing became a point of controversy. It wasn't necessarily because the part was deemed illegal, but because it caused such a stir in the paddock. There were questions about whether the deflection test designed to verify if the wing was within legal limits was enough to confirm the car's compliance. As the season went on, McLaren's performance in certain races became impossible to ignore. In Baku, for example, Piastri defended fiercely against rivals like Charles Leclerc and Sergio Perez, thanks to a significant top-speed advantage provided by the car's rear wing. But even McLaren's rivals were vocal about their suspicions. Both Leclerc and Perez publicly expressed their belief that McLaren's MCL38 was borderline illegal, the use of a mini DRS drag reduction system, which provided substantial gains in speed, raised more than a few eyebrows. And as we look ahead to 2026, when massive changes are expected, the debate around DRS will likely intensify. But for now, 2025 stands as the year that could redefine how teams approach this controversial technology. As the season progressed, it wasn't just the rear wing of McLaren's MCL38 that drew attention. The front wing also became a talking point, especially in light of Mercedes' earlier controversy surrounding the flexibility of their own front wing. McLaren seemed to have adopted a similar design, and it was clear to anyone paying attention that their front wing was bending far too much, particularly in slower corners or when hitting the curbs. This raised serious concerns, as such flexibility could give the car an unfair advantage, especially in critical parts of the track. Red Bull's Christian Horner has been outspoken on this issue, repeatedly calling for clearer guidelines from the FIA. He wants the governing body to clarify the regulations surrounding flexible wings, as the current ambiguity leaves teams like McLaren with room to exploit the rules. The problem is, the FIA has yet to provide definitive answers, and their actions so far have failed to completely reassure the teams. This lack of clarity has only fueled the controversy. The situation has become more complicated as Red Bull continues to struggle with certain technical weaknesses in their car. While McLaren has sailed through the season with a smooth rollout of upgrades, Red Bull has faced more challenges in adapting to the new regulations, especially when it comes to maximizing their performance in slower corners. McLaren, on the other hand, has been able to capitalize on these weaknesses and gain valuable points. Norris, for instance, managed to secure victories with commanding margins, such as in Singapore and Zandvoort, where the high downforce requirements played to McLaren's strengths. This has exposed some of the shortcomings of Red Bull's car, especially in races where handling and agility are paramount. Despite McLaren's impressive form in 2024, Verstappen is well aware that Red Bull has room for improvement. While they made significant strides in the second half of the season, there's still a lot to be done if they hope to compete with McLaren and Ferrari on pure speed. Verstappen himself has acknowledged that if Red Bull doesn't step up their game in certain areas, particularly in slower corners and handling over bumps, they won't be able to fend off Norris or the Ferrari duo next year. For him, the pressure is mounting. In fact, Verstappen has been candid about his concerns, saying that if the team doesn't address these weaknesses, there's no way he'll secure another championship. He's confident that Red Bull can fix their balance issues for 2025, but there's no denying the challenges ahead. It's not just about raw speed either. The car's behavior in corners and under braking needs a significant overhaul if they want to close the gap to McLaren's performance. Verstappen has always been known for his relentless drive, and it's clear that he's putting that same level of intensity into pushing Red Bull to deliver a competitive car for the upcoming season. He's been vocal about his frustrations, particularly when he noticed problems in the car's setup early in 2024. Even as Red Bull continued to win races, Verstappen could feel something wasn't quite right. And now, as 2025 approaches, he's more determined than ever to ensure that the team fixes those issues, especially if they want to fend off the challenges posed by McLaren, Ferrari, and Mercedes. Looking back at McLaren's incredible rise, it's evident that the team has made massive strides since the beginning of the 2023 season. In the first 9 races of 2023, they only managed to secure 29 points, a relatively low figure. Fast forward to the first 9 races of 2024, and McLaren has racked up an astounding 212 points, the highest number by any team on the grid. This drastic improvement showcases the sheer determination and progress McLaren has made in terms of car development and internal restructuring. With the new technical staff, they were able to implement upgrades that significantly boosted the car's performance, especially on high downforce circuits like Zandvoort and Singapore. Lando Norris's dominant performances, with margins of 20 seconds in some races, highlight just how far McLaren has come. But despite this, the team faces a tough challenge in 2025. Red Bull has certainly been underperforming in some aspects, particularly when it comes to handling in slower corners. However, McLaren's next step is to maintain this momentum while continuing to evolve the car and fine-tune their race strategies to ensure that they stay at the top. For Norris, it's clear that he's in the best position of his career, but as McLaren closes the gap to Red Bull, the pressure will only increase. Verstappen and Red Bull may still have the upper hand in terms of overall pace, but McLaren's consistency and innovation make them a serious threat moving forward. As for Red Bull, the changes within the team are significant, and 2025 could be a make-or-break season for them. Following the departure of Sergio Perez, Red Bull has promoted Liam Lawson, a driver from their academy, to fill the gap. However, Lawson's relative lack of experience in Formula One, having only completed 11 races, presents a huge challenge. Verstappen, who has been the undisputed leader at Red Bull, now has a new teammate who will have to step up quickly to maintain the team's competitive edge. This shift in driver dynamics puts extra pressure on Verstappen. With Lawson entering the fold, Red Bull will need to adjust their approach, especially since Lawson has yet to prove himself as a top-tier driver in the sport. Verstappen's leadership will be more crucial than ever, but there's also a sense of urgency within the team. Red Bull's success has been built on a solid foundation of experience, but now they face the difficult task of balancing this with the need for fresh talent and strategic adjustments. Moreover, the loss of key engineers in the past season, including some major departures, could impact Red Bull's development. As new regulations loom, the team will need to ensure that they can adapt to these changes while keeping their performance at the front of the grid. Verstappen himself has hinted at his own uncertain future with the team. If the team doesn't stay on track, there could be some hard decisions to make, especially since Verstappen has made it clear that his loyalty to Red Bull is tied closely to their performance. Looking ahead, the 2025 season promises to be one of the most competitive and unpredictable seasons in Formula One history. With multiple teams, McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes, ready to challenge for the championship, it's hard to say who will come out on top. McLaren's continued rise is certainly something to keep an eye on. After an astonishing leap in performance this year, they could very well be a serious contender for the title in 2025. At the same time, Ferrari and Mercedes are not to be underestimated. Both teams have been working tirelessly on their car developments and will be bringing significant upgrades to their machines. Ferrari, with its powerful engine and fast pace, has been a constant threat, while Mercedes will always have the resources and experience to mount a championship challenge. The biggest question, however, remains with Red Bull. Will the team bounce back from the technical difficulties they experienced in 2024? Will Verstappen be able to defend his title in the face of fierce competition? And how will the addition of Lawson affect their overall performance? Red Bull's challenge will be proving that they can keep up with McLaren, Ferrari, and Mercedes while managing their own internal changes. But perhaps the most intriguing storyline for the 2025 season is Verstappen's own future. After his incredible success with Red Bull, there's speculation about how much longer he will stay at the team, particularly if things don't go as planned in 2025. Verstappen has always been driven by the desire to win, and if Red Bull can't provide him with the car to do that, there may be some difficult decisions ahead. For now, all eyes are on the 2025 season, where the landscape of Formula One could shift dramatically. As we look forward to the 2025 season, the questions are endless. Will McLaren continue to close the gap on Red Bull? Can Ferrari and Mercedes disrupt the status quo? And how will Verstappen navigate the challenges ahead, both on and off the track? One thing is for sure, Formula One is heading into an incredibly exciting era, and it's shaping up to be a season like no other. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Red Bull will remain the dominant force, or will McLaren's rise continue in 2025? And how do you see Verstappen's future with the team? Make sure to stay tuned for more updates and analysis, and click on the next video to get more insights into the latest developments in Formula One.